I don't know if that one's going to have enough. It doesn't. 1 minute left to go in the FPHL season, celebrating 15 years. It's been absolutely remarkable. We heard from the commissioner at the intermission. Attendance never been higher. Community involvement has never been higher. McAnanimal, perhaps one last save for good measure. The goaltender of the year, solidifying his spot in the record books. Perhaps the best postseason run of any professional goalie all across North American hockey. Pesica fires off the back wall, back around. Everybody in the arena is on their feet. 30 seconds left to go. Once the clock strikes midnight, history will be made. Stubbs fires for the empty net. Same result again. Nobody wants to get the final goal of the season.
Doesn't want it to end, Brooks. Just giving these fans some extra time to enjoy. And the cup is on its way home to the 607.
It's already in the penalty box. The Black Bears will be the first team ever in the FPHL to repeat. They were the most dominating team all year long. Only 6 regulation losses. Nobody close to contending with them in terms of points. Back-to-back Empire Division champions, regular season and playoffs. Victory is a dish best served on ice. Final horn, McAnanimal, one more for good measure. It's over. The Black Bears are FPHL champions once again.
This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears, with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for May 11th, 2025. This is season 14, episode number 67, and episode number 506 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. I am your host, Bob Howard, and I've been a loss of words for the past couple days. And I know I wrote the day after game report, and I put a lot of stuff in there. But man, oh man, this has just been such a great couple of days. And let's be honest, this has been a great couple seasons for Binghamton hockey, for the fans of Binghamton, New York. In the greater Binghamton area, a lot of you have been able to get to experience joy and happiness and just this amazing feeling that going and supporting a team can result in so much happiness and joy, and winning 2 championships. And yeah, sure, maybe a lot of old timers wish that we would have won in 92, 93, maybe in 82, 83 with the Whalers. Maybe that cup that slipped from us for the Dusters. Yeah, maybe a lot of guys and gals who are older fans would have loved that. But if you have not been in the arena for the last 2 cup championships for the Binghamton Black Bears, you are missing out. It's electric. It was electric. It was amazing. The people who needed to score goals, they scored goals, right? CJ Stubbs, Tyson Kirkby. Those 2, these were the guys that were supposed to be scoring goals in these playoffs, and Tyson got the final goal of the season. How crazy is that? How ironic, how fitting that Tyson scores the last goal in the championship game, the last goal of the season for the Binghamton Black Bears. You couldn't write a better script. You just couldn't. Yeah, I know. If you're not a fan of the Binghamton Black Bears, you're upset. They've won 2 in a row. You don't like Tyson. You don't like Brant Sherwood. You don't like the Binghamton fans. You think our arena is not good enough, or whatever you think about the arena. Now, the arena is great. Every broadcaster comes into the arena. They love the arena. But if you're a Binghamton hockey fan, whether you're in Florida or whether you're in Arizona, California, North Carolina, and you're watching your former city now be this successful in minor pro hockey, and man, when I say, guys, that you guys are the best fans in minor pro hockey, I'm serious. I'm serious. Losing the AHL 4 years ago, and now you're outdrawing cities and teams that are in higher leagues because you love this team so much. Ticket prices have gone up, and yet you still show up in full force. They go from 5,011 fans for the championship game last year to 5,013 fans this year. 2 extra people showed up. Awesome. The Black Bears have won back-to-back. In the FPHL, it's never happened before. In the 15th season of the FPHL, a team has now gone back-to-back and won the Commissioner's Cup 2 times in a row. It's so impressive. It's so impressive what Brant Sherwood and Tyson Kirkby have kind of built together. You know, one leading the team on the ice and the other one just constructing this team. And Andreas has said multiple times to me that the majority of the decisions when it comes to players has been decided by Brant Sherwood. He's kind of been hands off when it comes to that stuff. That is a great thing. The Black Bears have so many things on their side. They are the model franchise now in the FPHL. And what do I mean by model franchise? They lead in how people should be recruiting players, who they should be bringing in. The culture in the locker room is huge. You can say whatever you want if you're against the Black Bears, but the results are there. There's no cheating. The refs are not on the Black Bears side. The Black Bears have been over penalized over the past couple of seasons. They've been suspended. The league is not rooting for the Black Bears. Maybe in the back of their minds, some people in the league are rooting for a team like the Black Bears to provide the city of Binghamton, to provide that legitimacy to this league. Maybe that is something that they root for. But they're not fixing the games for the Black Bears. Not a chance in hell. So if you're a fan out there that just is so against the Black Bears, I was even attacked sometime this weekend with a fan saying, oh, best fans, they sold out one game in the finals and they're the best fans. Yeah, dude. They've sold out 10 times this year and then one more time in the finals. They led the league throughout the beginning of the season to the end of the season with fans. I know Moreau got the regular season attendance record. Great for Moreau. It's excellent to have a team, even in the southwest, or I guess middle southern part of the country, right? Because it's more, Louisiana is kind of like in the middle of the country, but it's in the south. It's good to have a team like that doing well like that. I hope Mississippi rebounds. Whatever change they make, I hope they rebound. But the Black Bears are the model in many ways. They have the most paid employees. They consistently have gone up in attendance 4 years in a row. No team has done that. No team has done that. And I think the Black Bears are going to struggle to try to get more fans this upcoming season than this season. I think it's going to be tough. I don't know if they can do that. But if they can maintain 4,300, that's awesome. But this championship means a lot to a lot of people. I think CJ Stubbs is elated that he has won a championship now with the Black Bears, and he's got a championship under his belt. I know that there are players like Dan Weber just beside himself. Some players came up to me and said they've never played in front of this many fans before. This means a lot to these guys. It means a lot to me. I can't believe that I've now seen the city that I've supported hockey and loved hockey here for so long. What's your favorite team, Bobby? Well, it's whatever team plays in Binghamton. And that's the truth. And then Rangers come number 2. It's unmistakable that Brant Sherwood has entrusted me in some ways to be able to help tell his story, to allow me to ask him as many questions as I have. There's nobody in the media that's talked to Brant more than I have. No one in the media that has told his story as much as I could. And I haven't always been nice. Now, I never said fire Sherwood. I've never said that, he should go in any way. But I've criticized his life choices behind the bench a couple times, right? But unmistakably, that 2 or 3% of the time that he may not think the way I think he should think doesn't compute to the 97% of the time he does think the way I want him to think, or the way I think he should think about decisions with players. And, when I heard the stories about Nikita Ivashkin, no matter how good he was on the ice, and they gave him every single chance to stick around, right? But can you believe that the Black Bears have now won 2 championships? And because a big part of the first 2.5 years of this team's existence, Nikita was a big part of that. And he wasn't on the ice for either one of those championships. Brant Sherwood's father brings him on the silver platter, a gentleman named Tommy Ray. And Tommy Ray was a good player. I think his on-ice skills were good. I think he had some of the qualities that you need in a champion. And yet, Brant Sherwood had to make that tough decision to let him go. This year, everything was better. There wasn't those kind of decisions. I know Cade Henry left the team, and I've heard things here and there. But Cade Henry played really well. And he went to another team where he got playing time. And that's really, if that was the worst thing that happened in the locker room this year, is that Cade Henry went somewhere else to get better or more ice time. What a season. What a successful season. And that's part of making them the model franchise, right? Players want to come to Binghamton and win. Players will play the 10th forward, the 11th forward position because they know they're going to win. And they know that they can go out there on the ice and make contributions like Zach Sirota, 2 game-winning goals in the finals. Chris Mott. You're going to hear that Chris Mott, was a part of Tyson Kirkby's that final goal because Chris Mott comes out onto the ice and all he does is just push that puck through the neutral zone, hooks it up with Tyson Kirkby. Now, I believe someone else touched the puck. That's why Chris Mott did not get the assist on that. But he was a big part of that play. And that's something he did. When I talked to Chris Mott after the championship, after the whistle blew and I caught up with him, I gave him a big hug and I said, I am so glad you were in these finals. I'm so glad you played games in these finals. He deserved it. He deserved it. So did Zach Sirota, 100%, right? Some of these guys that were, bubble guys to be on the playoff roster, for them to get in and to be able to contribute like Zach Sirota, who I think was going to be on the playoff roster no matter what, right? But a guy like Chris Mott, he's a good centerman. And he deserved to have a chance. And the one thing that Brant Sherwood didn't do last year, which I wish he kind of would have done, but listen, they went 7-0. It was perfect. So, who am I to complain? But if I'm sitting here on a Sunday morning at 9:32 trying to, find an objective way to criticize or critique Brant Sherwood, right? If that's what people want me to do or ask me to do, then I would say, oh, it would have been nice to have a couple players play in games last year that didn't. But he went 7-0 and won a championship, so who the hell am I to say one way or another? But to have Chris Mott and Zach Sirota get into the games, great. For CJ Stubbs and Tyson Kirkby to bookend the 2 goals on Friday night, great. 2 championships. 90% chance that Brant Sherwood is coming back next year, right? I've already had conversations with him and Andreas about that situation. That'll be handled a couple weeks from now. But 90% chance he comes back, right? He's going to lose 1 or 2 players in the expansion draft. Maybe a little bit more now that the Indiana Sentinels have been named to be the new 14th team of this league. So maybe the expansion draft's going to change just a little bit. So you might lose maybe 3 players. And what does that do to this team? Well, what did it do to the team last year? Nothing. Brody Thornton went somewhere else. He excelled. Justin Samaro, he went to Athens. He excelled. Andrew Uturo got stuck in a bad situation, but when he went to Danville, he excelled. So players will come and they will go and they will excel. We don't know what's ahead of us. What we do know is that when Brant Sherwood comes back, we have a chance at a 3-peat. You're hearing me say it now. Because of what we've seen in the last 2 years, who's going to be good enough to beat them? Maybe Athens, but there's a good chance that they will have a head coaching change. So that might affect the way their game is played. Coach Harry's going to lose a few players in Carolina. We know that. So why can't the Black Bears come back and repeat the success? 49 wins? I don't know. I don't know if they can match that again. But maybe. It's possible, I guess. But I think it would be difficult. It's just been a remarkable season. 49 wins, 7 more in the playoffs. I mean, they won 56 games. Think about that for a second. There are 56 games in the regular season. They won 56 games throughout the regular season and the playoffs. They lost in regulation only 7 times out of all the games that they played. It's crazy. Crazy. 6 in the regulation, 1 loss up in Port Huron that I think basically kicked all the players in the ass and said, we have to do better. We can do better. We are better. And they did it. I'm very proud of these guys. Folks, I know a lot of you have gotten to meet the players. You've gotten to shake their hands. You've gotten to give them hugs, take pictures, autographs. I've had, in some cases, I don't want to say intimate in a romantic stance. I've had intimate conversations with some of these players, and you've heard a lot of that here on the Power Play Post Show. And I'm grateful. I'm thankful to all those guys who've opened up to me here on the show, told me their stories. Let me tell their stories to you, the fans. This has been a remarkable 2 years. It's been great. And I'm happy for my city to be able to hang another banner in about 151 days or whatever the date is that they decide to have the home opener. The city of Binghamton, in just 6 months of time or 5 months of time or 3 months, whatever it was, had 2 teams win championships. The state championship for the Binghamton Patriots basketball team, the men's basketball team, they won their championship in that same building as the Black Bears have just won 2 cups in less than 365 days. In 364 days, they won the cup. So 3 championships in less than 365 days were won in that building. Talk about crazy, right? That's like championship arena is what we should be calling it. It's pretty awesome. I'll have more thoughts. I know there's going to be a celebration again on Monday at 6:30. I'm going to be there. I'm going to get some audio from some of the players, get them to talk to me a little bit more. We'll do some interviews throughout the summer. We're not going anywhere. The Power Play Post Show will be here. I definitely need a little bit of break, a little bit of time off. Life has been kind of crazy outside of this, but this has been remarkable. This has been amazing. Thanks to Brooks Hill for the audio to start the show. We've done that a couple times this year. I got a new board here that's going to allow me to do and play certain things. And if I could give this season one thing that kind of really just sums it up on what I'm going to remember the most is the fact that we heard this so many times.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
That was one of the coolest things, I think, was that the fans got so into that it became such a social media, like, crazy meme type of thing. It was just pretty awesome. And the thing that takes me back, all the way back, is hearing these horns in the Broome County, or in the Visions Veterans Memorial Arena. It was the Broome County Veterans Memorial Arena when I first heard these horns going off when the teams, any of the teams, winning a goal. But in this season, we heard this so much as well. The Power Play Post is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. I really do want to get to 2,000 by the end of next season. So let's figure this out, folks. Let's get all of your friends and your family to join. Just share the Power Play Post Show to all your friends and family. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, part 2 of our conversation with former Binghamton Senators Calder Cup champion netminder Barry Brust. I caught a little flack for breaking this up into 2 parts, and I loved it. Thank you very much. You guys can always give me all of your feedback, no matter what it is. All right. The Binghamton Black Bears run it back. They win their second Commissioner's Cup, sweeping the Carolina Thunderbirds for the second straight finals, winning both games in Carolina and then winning on May 9th, 2025. Exactly 364 days after winning Game 3 on May 10th of 2024 to win their first Commissioner Cups finals. Amazing. May 9th, 2025, Commissioner Cup Finals, Game 3. Carolina Thunderbirds at Binghamton Black Bears. 7 p.m. start time, Visions Veterans Memorial Arena. And just like last year, the first period kind of started off like it did last year. Gus Ford scored the game's first goal at the 10:37 mark of the first period after getting his shot past Connor McAnanima's blocker side and the post, giving the Thunderbirds a 1-0 lead. Now, I've only seen what I saw from the press box. I did watch a little bit of the Gus Ford goal. I think there was a little bit of a better angle for us to see it. And it looks like he banked it off of Connor McAnanima, as Connor was kind of fooled and looking the other way, but he still had that right side post covered up, I thought, pretty well. But Gus Ford is a great goalie, or a great forward, and he's going to beat you if you give him a sliver of a chance to do so. You have to be almost perfect against Gus Ford. All right, so first period notes. Scratching this game was Nolan Egbert, Emerson Emery, Luke Dobles, Anthony Bernardo, Nicholas Poirier, and, of course, Josh Fletcher. Starters for the Binghamton Black Bears was Gavin Yates, Kyle Steffen, Donald Oliveri, Jesse Anderson, and Dan Weber. I like the fact that Jesse Anderson and Dan Weber got the starts in these games. I don't know if that was like a strategy type of thing or if they were just the best players. I do want to say, without a doubt, that I think Dakota Bond and Dan Stone played very well in the playoffs. But man, were they matched with intensity and certain skill sets on the ice by Dan Weber and Jesse Anderson. They absolutely 100% killed it in the playoffs this year. And not enough defensemen get enough credit, but Jesse Anderson and Dean Weber played outstanding defense. They're not expected to score. They're not expected to do all the offensive stuff. Not like Dakota Bond does. Not like Dan Stone has kind of really upped his offensive game. Jesse Anderson and Dan Weber, outstanding. They were the two best defensemen, I thought, in the playoffs. I'm going to say it. I know people are going to disagree with me. It's the truth. Starters for Carolina in this game were Gus Ford, Roman Kramer, Dawson Baker, Joe Kennedy, James Farmer, and Mario Cavallari. Now you'd be asking, why Mario? Boris played so well. Coach Harry trusts Mario. He does. He's been his main goaltender for the past 2 years, and I can understand the reasoning here. However, I think a lot of people thought, you probably could have and probably should have played Boris. Through the first 6 minutes and 21 seconds of the game, the Thunderbirds had a 4-3 lead on the shots department. Both teams had been physical and had their consistent pressure in their O zones, but no one has given up a grade A chance yet. From my vantage point, it looked like Connor had sealed off his blocker side, like I said before, but left Gus for just enough to get the puck past. This has not been the best period for the Black Bears during the playoffs. I don't think the Black Bears played terrible in the first period. I just don't think they played their best game. And they were a little bit out of sync, and even the shots, though even, the Thunderbirds controlled the pace a lot in this period. I disagreed with Brooks Hill, who said he thought the period wasn't really controlled by one team or the other. And I thought the Thunderbirds had a little bit of an edge on the controlled pace of the period. But the shots on goal through the first period, Binghamton 11, Carolina 11. In the second period, okay, and let's get right into the scoring. Early into the second period, the Black Bears responded quickly with a CJ Stubbs goal to tie up the game at 1 goal apiece just 30 seconds into the middle period.
Panicek and Kirkby. We get a look at it from our corner camera operated by friend Josh Owen tonight. Played back up top, looking for Keeley. Instead, it's a board battle. Thompson and Stubbs coming away with it. Now Thompson's offside. No, they say they're good. Kirkby holding on the forehand. Looking, centering, scores. CJ Stubbs. Turn the lights off. Let the smoke fly. Black Bears tie the game at 1.
With Peter Panicek in the box for high sticking, the Black Bears take a 2-1 lead with an Austin Thompson power play goal at the 4:32 mark of the period, with Nick Swain then in the penalty box serving a Gavin Yates match penalty for kneeing. The Thunderbirds tie up the game back up at 2-2 with a power play goal from Roman Kramer. The Black Bears then again took the lead with a goal from Zach Sirota at the 15-13 mark of the period. All right, in the second period, exactly the response the Black Bears needed, and it came from Tyson Kirkby with the assist to CJ Stubbs with that goal. And it's not surprising to me that it was, Tyson Kirkby that got the assist on that. And that the first line stepped up, especially when they needed it, right? Because if you're not going to get goals from the third line or the second line, for that matter, you need that first line with all the skill and all the experience for them to do that. And CJ and Tyson did that in this game. After a collision in the Black Bear zone, Peter Panicek left the ice, not putting any pressure on his knee or leg, which led to Gavin Yates getting a match penalty for kneeing. Now, it was weird because Binghamton's, and I don't know if this was instructions from the referees. They put in a match and a major for kneeing, which would be two individual type of penalties, and they left it there for a long time until almost the end of the game before they switched it to just a match penalty for kneeing. The match penalty did pay off for the Thunderbirds, obviously with the Kramer goal. Zach Sirota has now scored in the last 2 games in the finals and has been the leader of the Energy Lions when he's been out there. I think he and Chris Mott have been the 2 best third line and 10th and 11th forward guys in the finals. look, a rough period for both teams, but the Black Bears outscored the Thunderbirds 3-1. When I say rough, I really mean that the Black Bears took over the game, but there were obviously a couple collisions that were kind of like just, not so good, and there was a few more penalties than normal. Will Panachek be back in the game? He wasn't. I hope he's okay. I want to talk about the second period in this way. Great for Zach Sirota. I'm so glad he scored, and obviously that turned into the game-winning goal. But Peter Panachek, you could tell when he was on the ice, he was motioning. He was done. That was it. His, whatever the injury was, it was bad. I am hoping he is okay. I think all the fans wanted him to be okay, and that just was not. And for Gavin to be kicked out of that game because of that hit, and a lot of people said it was clean, a lot of people said it was not clean. Well, what do you consider clean? You have to consider the intent. Gavin is a great skater, and that was a collision I don't know if he could have avoided. So is it a penalty? Is it not a penalty? 9 times out of 10, referees are going to call that. And the reason why they're going to call that is because someone was injured and taken off the ice. And I know people are going to, criticize me for saying this, but when a player gets hurt, you make the call. You send someone off the ice because it helps calm what happened. All right, you took out one of our good players. One of your players is out. And I think the referees in all of the levels of hockey are going to make that call. So you may disagree with the fact that it was kneeing. That's fine, but they're going to make that call. All right, shots on goal in the second period, Binghamton 13, Carolina 12. Totals were Binghamton 24, Carolina 23. In the third period, the Black Bears scored their 4th goal of the game off of Blake Tosto's stick and Cameron Clark rebound to make it a 4-2 game with 11:05 to go. I thought it was a great goal by Blake Tosto, giving the Black Bears a 3-goal cushion at the end of the game. In the third period, Tyson Kirkby scored his 5th goal in the playoffs.
Pestico tries to settle it down and will find its home with Tyson Kirkby as he will punt it all the way down. Gagnon pressured. Ford now carries up. Mott, fresh off a line change. Broken up by Kirkby. Breakaway. Scores! Tyson Kirkby skates to center ice. Celebration starting early here in Binghamton. Black Bears up by 3.
The Black Bears win the game 5-2, and they win the series 3-0, and go back to back, winning their second Commissioner's Cup championship. Third period notes, the Thunderbirds made a valiant effort in the third period, but the Black Bears defense and C-Mac just kept the Thunderbirds off the board. What can you say about C-Mac in this game? In the third period, when you needed him to make saves, he made them all and never backed down. Zach Sirota with the game-winning goal, 2 games in a row now. Great job, Zach Sirota. Not only that, but the game winner came from the 4th line, that the Black Bears used. However, Coach Sherwood seemed to have Sirota out there with a ton of players from all the lines. In other words, he played with Tyson Kirkby. He was on the ice with pretty much everybody out there. And when Gavin Yates went down, you have to take somebody from that 4th line, so to speak, because there's only 2 players on it, but still, you're going to, put a center or put somebody down there. I mean, Chris Mott can play center, so you can put a winger down there with them. Either way, Sherwood had to kind of mix it up after Gavin left. Thank you to Ron Johnson and Brian Pincus. Yes, I know. I'm thanking referees. But you guys kept the whistles at bay. You let the 2 teams play. You had to make the call, the match penalty call on Gavin Yates. Yes, I think it was a clean hit, but I get why you called it. Otherwise, to me, not calling stuff on both teams was a great way of letting the players play this out. And I know Carolina might think differently on that. I mean, I've heard what Coach Harry said on the coaches show. Carolina was the best opponent for the Black Bears, not because the Black Bears won, but because the Thunderbirds can play a similar game, and it looked good. C-Mac in the playoffs, 2 seasons is now 14-1, a 1.65 goals against average, and a 9.47 save percentage. Playoffs MVP, just outstanding, just great. great family. I love the McAnanimas so much. They are such great people. And C-Mac is just an outstanding representation. Both of their children really are great representations of who they are. Brenna and C-Mac are amazing. Tyson Kirkby had an outstanding playoffs. 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points. Led the league in points. Donald Oliveri, 3 goals, 5 assists in the playoffs. Gavin Yates, 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points and a 2-time MVP, but a 3-time Commissioner's Cup champion. And we're not sure. I think somebody's got to figure this out, if whether or not Gavin Yates has won the most championships as a player. I don't know. I have to do some research on that one. Shots on goal in the third period. Binghamton 7, Carolina 14. Oh my gosh, what happened there? What happened there was the C-Mac stopped every single one of those. Binghamton 31, Carolina 37. It's ironic to me that in the final game, when they win the championship, they were outshot. Do you know how many times they were outshot this year? In the regular season, it only happened twice, 2 times. That's it. And now they get outshot in the third period. So, or in the final game of the season that they play. Kind of crazy how that is. All right, so let's just break this down a little bit more. The Black Bears repeat as champions, ran it back with a sweep over Carolina. Tyson Kirkby scored the final goal of the season, assisted on 2 others for a 3-point night. Blake Tostos scored a goal and had an assist for a 2-point night. Scott Romerkers had 2 assists on the night. I don't know. Maybe it took until game 3 of the finals for Scott Romerkers to start getting some assists, being a D-man, but he did, and he got 2 in that final, which is really cool. Congratulations, Scott. Proud of you. CJ Stubbs scored a goal in the game, and if you weren't watching his reaction when he scored that goal, and remember, he had the 2 game-winning goals in the first series against Watertown, didn't score against Port Huron, and then scores finally in the third game. And it was an important goal. That first goal gets the team started. Whenever someone turns the key and puts a puck in the net, this team somehow then starts to turn it on. And he did that all season. Austin Thompson scored a goal in the game. In the final game of the series, his first of the series and his 6th playoff goal in his career. Connor McAnanama earned his 14th career playoff win, saved 35 of 37 shots, and was voted playoffs MVP and finished the season playoffs with a 8.8 goals against average and a .970 save percentage. Outstanding, probably the best the Commissioner's Cup playoffs has ever seen. And I know that there were some good numbers in the 2018-19 season for the Carolina Thunderbirds and their goaltender, but this league is better now, and you have to take that into consideration. The Black Bears win the Commissioner's Cup back-to-back years and win the city of Binghamton's 3rd championship in 52 years. A celebration of the team's back-to-back Commissioner's Cup championship will happen Monday at 6:30 p.m. outside the arena. Crazy stats and numbers over these last 2 seasons. And I brought back some of the other stats that I read probably about a month ago here on the show as well. In 112 regular season games, the Black Bears are 88-16-8, which is an unimaginable record. In their last 15 playoff games, the Black Bears are 14-1. After making it to the finals, they are 6-0. That's just awesome. Crazy numbers. They have now won back-to-back Commissioner Cup championships, the only team in Fed history to do this. This season, in 8 playoff games, on average, they gave up only 1 goal per game. So they gave up 8 goals. That's a total against of 8 goals. On the flip side, they scored 27 goals in the playoffs. That was an average of 3.4 goals per game. So the goals against went down, but so did the scoring. But that's normal. That's normal in the playoffs. People just play better and more tight defensively. Even the teams that we played against did that, and they did it well. Connor McAnanama's playoff MVP, the goaltender of the year. His stats are just so impressive this season. In the regular season, he had 30 wins. That was a league high. 3 losses, 1 overtime loss, a .922 save percentage, which is only a couple 100% behind like basically second and third and first. And he had a 2.08 goals against average, the best in the Fed this season. In the playoffs, he had the most wins with 7. He only had 1 loss, a .970 save percentage. That was tops in the playoffs. And a .88 goals against average. That was best in the playoffs as well. Connor was 5th in the league with minutes played of 2018. He had a winning streak of 16 games this season from January 10th, a win in Motor City, to March 28th, 2025, a win at home against Danbury. And then that 1 loss was that Saturday night. I believe it was against the Blue Ridge Bobcats, if I remember right. Tyson Kirkby's numbers impressive as the season grew from last season to this season. He's now the offensive leader in almost every category I am keeping track of. This season, he scored 37 goals, 60 assists, 97 points. Amazing, 3 points away. And he did it with only playing 46 games. If he played 2 or 3 other games this season, he would have easily hit 100 points. He had a 2.1 points per game average. If you take all the players that played like 45 games or more, it was the highest. He had 12 power play goals, 4 shorthanded goals, and 4 game-winning goals. He led the league in the playoffs with 9 points, with scoring 5 goals and 4 assists. In the last 2 years, in the regular season, he has played in 100 games, has had 76 goals, 101 assists for 177 points, 20 power play goals, and a plus 72 rating in that time period. Led his team as captain to 2 championships, holds the franchise records for games played at 164, goals with 115, assists at 154, points with 269, PIMs with 323, but I don't know why anyone would brag about that, but I guess it's a cool thing. Power play goals with 33 and shorthanded goals with 7. He is the franchise leader in all of those categories. This season in 8 playoff games, in the 2024-2025 accomplishments for the Black Bears, okay? I read this before. I'm going to go through it one more time. 3 games with 10 or more goals, right? That was January 31st against Columbus. They scored 11 goals against the HC Venom twice, both on February 15th and April 12th. 6 shutouts this season. Which was just amazing. Franchise record in wins, winning percentage with 49-6-1 and an 851 percentage. That tied Carolina for the most wins with 49 in league history. Franchise record win streak of 18 games. Franchise record in goals with 289. Franchise record in goals against 141. That was a low for the team in 4 years. League lead in power play goals, 71. Has led the league category in every season in the last 4 years. And last year they had 81. So it was actually a little bit of a dip. Franchise record in shorthanded goals with 18. Goal differential of a plus 148. Players scored 10 or more goals, 12. Thompson with 39, Kirkby with 37, Stubbs with 23, Yates with 21, Oliveri with 20, Clark with 20, Ramakers with 17, Bond with 17, Steffen with 15, Mott with 15, Anderson with 12, and Sirota with 12 as well. 10 or more power play goals. 2 players did that. Kirkby with 12 and Oliveri with 11. Plus minus leader Dan Stone with plus 56. Franchise season wins by a goalie, 30 for Connor McAnanama. Franchise season goals against 2.08 Connor McAnanama. And of course, franchise leader in save percentage, 927 Connor McAnanama. The Black Bears have never lost more than 1 game in their 7 losses. First time in franchise history. It's been a great season, folks. Now, this upcoming week on the Power Play Post Show, we'll have reaction from the celebration on Monday. So I'll have a few interviews with a few of the players. Maybe even get Brooks Hill to talk into my little recorder as well, just to get his overall thoughts on everything. So look forward to that. Listen, coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is our friend Barry Brust. He will be here. And this is part 2 of the interview that I did with him last week during the break between games 2 and 3. So we'll get Barry here back on the Power Play Post Show, which will be pretty awesome. I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys have all enjoyed the celebration. Just whatever you did to celebrate, I hope it was fun. I hope it was safe, and I hope you guys all very much enjoyed it. I know I did. I'm excited for Binghamton hockey going on in the future. I can't imagine anything better than what we've already had, but it could get better. We'll see. But coming up next year in the Power Play Post Show is Barry Brust, part 2 of our interview with the former Calder Cup champion, Binghamton Senators netminder, Barry Brust. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Bolchinski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
Well, Barry, a lot of people in Binghamton, when they talk about Barry and they talk about Robin, they talk about how you got the team there. You carried the team on your back up to the playoffs. And then, no fault of your own. I mean, an injury is an injury. But then Robin was able to kind of fit into that spot. And you guys were two totally different goaltenders. You guys didn't play the same way, right? Yeah, everybody says it was Barry and Robin. That's what really got us to the championship. And you're going to forever be heroes in Binghamton, New York. Regardless if you ever step, foot in the city ever again, you're going to be heroes here. That's how, there are going to be fathers that are going to tell their children about, oh yeah, the first time we won a championship, Robin and Barry. Ryan Keller, Ryan Platoni. They're going to talk about Andre Benoit, those type of guys and everything. So, be proud of that. That's one of the best things ever because, yeah, the cup is for you guys, but the championship banner that hangs there, that's for the fans, So they're always going to be talking about you guys.
Yeah, it was definitely something special. And, my relationship with Robin was special that year. There's a lot of times. Well, I've been pretty lucky and fortunate throughout my career to have lots of great goalie partners, but there's been some that haven't been great goalie partners. And, I was the young guy at one point with having to deal with some crusty older guys, and, that's not fun. I didn't want to be that. The one thing you could see with Robin is just the talent. And
yeah.
He was so talented, and, it was fun for me to watch. That whole year of me being in Binghamton was a bonus, like we've talked about. I wasn't supposed to be there. And, I just did what I had to do to stay in the league. And, I was fortunate enough to have some lucky breaks. And then, I wanted to enjoy my time there, and I wanted to be a good teammate. And, I was lucky enough to have Robin as a partner.
Well, you played nowhere else more than you did in Binghamton that year in your whole career, which is really impressive. I think only 2 years in Spokane when you were in the WHL did you play more minutes in one season than you did when you played in Binghamton, which was pretty cool. Other than one more year in Abbotsford a couple years later, the next year you then moved over to Europe and started playing in Europe. Was there a mindset where you could be like, well, I could make a little extra coin over there to play over there?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Like, I had a great opportunity to go to Germany, and yeah, the money obviously was very good. I think my year in Binghamton, my salary was, before tax was $40,000. So
yeah.
The opportunity to go to Germany was there, and I took it. Then I had an opportunity to come back, only because I'm still suspended in Germany for 8 games.
Are you really?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me why you were. Was that the headbutting incident?
Well, no, I punched a guy in the face.
Oh, okay.
It was against Berlin. Like, Berlin is the whatever team. And they had a guy suspended for head contact the game before, and so I put the guy out for I think the rest of the playoffs, which I feel bad about. But so they fined me €2,500, and I got an eight game suspension, which they still upheld because I don't know 4 or 5 years ago we looked into it because I was going to go back to that same place I had played,
And they were going to still make you serve the 8 games.
And they're going to still make me serve the 8 games, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. You know what? It's actually a better story that you never went back, right? And you're still suspended for 8 games in Germany. That's great. One of the things, you were a feisty guy on the ice, right? Joe Kennedy, he knows how feisty you are. But in that season in Binghamton, there was a couple other times where you actually went out to go play the puck, and guys would come flying over you, and you put your body on the line. You stuck up for obviously Derek Smith when he got basically ran over behind you, even though the penalty was being called. Nope, that's not going to happen on my watch. I'm going to go after Joe Kennedy. You were a feisty guy on the ice. What was the mindset for you when you played, where sometimes you would get active? Now, Binghamton is not unfamiliar to a guy in a goalie mask that will fight. Obviously, Ray Emery played in Binghamton, and he cut his teeth, fighting in the AHL for Binghamton. But for you, it's more like, I'm going to get in your face, and maybe someone else is going to come fight you. But what was your mindset when you played on the ice and with that physical and that very feisty attitude?
Yeah, I just didn't like anyone around my crease. Try and make as much space as I could, and then there's a game within that too, and maybe they'll come and take a dumb penalty on you after there's ways to manipulate it. But I was one of the bigger guys, so I wouldn't expect anyone else to have to take care of me. I can do it for myself. And I would, let guys know, if they run me, I'll handle it if it needs to be handled. If it doesn't, we can just leave it be and score on the power play kind of deal. And I took my fair share of penalties, and I'm sure some of them weren't, at the smartest times. But when at the appropriate times, we normally would end up on the right side of the ledger.
Now, obviously, when you played with Abbotsford, the big story there for you was the 268 minutes and 17 seconds. You broke Johnny Bauer's 54-year-old record for shutout time. Can you put into reference, because we have a goaltender here in Binghamton. We're about to play Game 3 on Friday in the championship series final, and in the playoffs, he's got 4 shutouts, which is really unheard of, for playoff hockey and whatnot. But you're the type of guy, you're the perfect guy to talk about this. You shut out AHL teams for 268 minutes and 17 seconds. Johnny Bauer even left you a message. I watched the video where he actually, and he's a legend, right? He's a legend netminder. Can you talk a little bit about those games and what was in your mind when you were shutting people down for 4+ games?
Yeah, it was just one of those runs, and Johnny Bauer is my dad's favorite goalie growing up. And
wow.
Johnny Bauer. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. And, his poke check was,
very
he's
good.
Famous for his poke check. And I like to think I had a good poke check too, but it was just crazy. It was one of those things. And it was a weird, because we had 3 goalies on the team.
Yep.
And I wasn't playing every game. So it wasn't it was 4 shutouts, but it was over the course of 3 weeks or something. So it was, it was a long time in between games. And, honestly, when you're playing like that, nothing's going through your mind. You're just
really,
you're for me anyways, when I would get in that zone, when you're in that zone, it's your mind is just blank. And when a guy shoots a puck, his body's going to tell you where he can shoot it, for the majority of guys. And if you have a clear mind, clear conscience, you just sense it. and you kind of, that's how it is. Obviously there's a lot of luck involved too, but for half the season that year was, I think my goals against at Christmas time was, around 1. It was the best stretch of hockey I'd ever played, and that was during a lockout too. So it was, I was pretty proud of that, and like I said, I always try to replicate getting in that zone, and it's really is, your mind is just clear. You're not thinking at all.
Mm-hmm.
You're just playing and in that zone. It's a lot like I read a book by Sean Green. He was one of my favorite baseball players growing up.
Yeah.
And he talked about the same kind of thing where I feel like hitting is a lot like what we have to replicate as goalies, because we're reacting to what someone else is doing at a high speed. And I remember reading his book, and some of the things he would talk about, and there's lots of kind of Zen kind of stuff, and it just resonated with me. But I remember the general manager in Abbotsford sat me down and said, like, have you been doing anything different this year? I was like, well, I read this book. He just kind of laughed. So, that was it. Just try and not think.
Barry, one of the things I've talked to a lot of goaltenders, obviously in the last 20 plus years. I've always said that netminders are a kind of like a player of their own. I mean, they're definitely not like, forwards and defensemen. I've always said there's an odd quality or odd characteristic about netminders. First of all, you guys are okay with, pucks coming at you at 90 miles an hour, right? And hitting you all over the place, which is, to me, is just kind of crazy. But you're also the netminder, had the long hair, right? You said whatever you wanted to say. You were fun in post games most of the time, right? How would you describe yourself?
Entertaining.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
I don't know. Like, I just tried to be honest, say what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was obvious. Sometimes maybe it wasn't. And, I think guys could come to me if they, wanted to know what's going on. Like, to a certain degree would tell it like it is.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do it any other way. So that's kind of how I've done it my whole life, right? So some people like it, some people don't, but you know what you're getting.
The KHL, obviously a lot of people would say that it is as close to the NHL as any other league is going to come. Maybe, you can argue the AHL has got some very talented players in it. Talk a little bit about the play of the KHL. You obviously spent a good amount of time over there after your Abbotsford Heat, the last time you played in North America. Talk a little bit about the KHL and the quality of hockey that's over there.
Very high quality. There's guys that play on the third line in Russia that you've never heard of. I've never heard of before. That could play in the NHL, no problem. It's a different game, really. Like, a lot more puck control, a lot less mistakes. Not because of the skill. The skill is very good there, mm-hmm. and probably higher than the American League. But the game is a little bit slower, so you're able to make plays a lot easier. So there's less turnovers, less like quick turnovers, where guys can get caught.
Yeah.
So just more structured and predictable. So for me, it suited my game really well.
So you fit in really well over there. I watched a lot of the highlights, and I still saw a lot of the same Barry Brust kind of plays that that we saw over here in North America. And it's just it is a different game, right? Because there are things that are a little bit slower. There are some speedy guys over there, but the game overall is just a little bit slower.
Yeah, bigger ice for the most part too. Like, we had when I was in Croatia in that league, our team was made up mostly of, AHL guys and, some guys that were in the NHL. And we played in a small rink, and our home ice advantage was huge because it was just a different game. And it was very similar to Binghamton. We had a big home ice advantage, not only because of our fans, it was awesome, but because that ice surface was smaller, things happen quicker. Guys don't have as much time. It takes a little bit of skill out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was we were at a big skill disadvantage in Zagreb, but we made up for it on home ice because it was just the time and space just wasn't there to make so many plays.
Playing in England your last season, did you know you were close to the end of your career?
Yeah, I was in a lot of pain. I had a foot operation my last year. I was in Houston, and it held up right until about that last year. So
that's when you got the 8 screws, right, in your foot? In Houston?
Correct. Yeah, and I didn't really feel it until that last year, and it started to get real bad. And so I was able to get a master's degree there in sports business.
Nice.
And so I was able to accomplish at least something there. But yeah, I knew it was my time. And I have a family now, 2 kids. At that time, I only had the one, but moving them overseas and back every year,
was tough.
It wasn't. It stopped being worth it. So it's time to start my life over here.
Are they already on ice skating?
My oldest one is, yeah. So I have a 7-month-old and I have a 4-year-old.
Wait, you don't have the 7-month-old on the ice yet? I mean, come on. Barry, come on. We got to talk about that. There's a couple things I want to ask you about before I let you go. The horseshoe from the Heat Booster Club, do you still have it?
Oh.
Do you remember
I have the T-shirt, I think.
You still have the T-shirt?
I have the T-shirt somewhere, and I'm sure my dad will have the horseshoe because he kept everything.
He kept everything, huh? That was pretty cool that when you came back from that road trip and you had broke the record that they'd gotten you, that the booster clubs, almost anywhere you played, they're almost usually the best supporters of the hockey teams and the players, correct? Yeah,
they're like lifeblood of a minor league hockey team. They do a lot of work for us, and we need them. We needed them. There's no doubt about that. They did a lot for the players, depending on where you were, but they definitely a big part of my memories of my minor league career and in North America anyways, and huge part.
I got to ask you, the craziest thing I ever saw you do is literally sit there and tap your pads with your stick multiple times over and over and over again. And I've never had the chance to ask you, why do you do that?
I think I saw a guy do it when I was like real young, maybe right before I had started playing goalie.
Yeah.
So I've done that since I was 10 years old.
So is it a rhythm thing? Is it something that calmed you down? How did it help you?
I was superstitious. If I didn't do it, I'd get scored on.
Really?
I tried a couple times to do it, but I would get scored on. So I'm like, well, I better keep doing this, even though I look like an idiot. I know I did, but I'd rather look like an idiot and not get scored on as much than immediately get scored on. So
I sent you a picture of you and Robin that I took at the All-Star game in, I think it was 2013 when you were with Abbotsford. To me, it's one of my favorite pictures that I've ever taken of 2 players. The look in your face, Robin was looking at me and you were looking at Robin. Did that bring back nice memories when I sent that to you just recently?
Yeah, it did. It really did. I'm not exactly 100% sure what's going on with Robin right now, but I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but, he's, like I said, he was one of the best partners I had. And I took a lot of pride in seeing how his game grew and hope that I was a small part of it. And, there's a few things he did at sometimes that I'm like, oh, he learned that from me. and they weren't always the best things, but
Yeah.
you know, I appreciated how much respect he gave me. He didn't have to, you know, and you kind of hear things about guys, other people's opinions, and you know, mine was definitely different than a lot of people's when it came to Robin. I loved him. He was a great teammate to me, and I think he was a great teammate to a lot of guys. So
yeah. I spent a lot of time talking to him post game, you know, because he was there a couple years after you left in Binghamton, and he did nothing but showed me respect all the time. So I don't care what other people might say about Robin Lehner. I just know the man that kind of like grew up around me those few years and talked to me and showed me respect. And so I will always show him respect. That's how I look at it. You show me respect, I'll show you respect back.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I can say about Robin is we had a great relationship, and you know, I have a strong affinity for him, and yeah, I miss him.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I let you go, what's the future hold for you? I know you're working out there in Calgary, and whatnot, but you know, possible coaching maybe, you know, for your kids or whatever. What's the thought? What's the thought? Is hockey completely 100% done for you?
We're on the coaching side, probably not. I was working in oil gas on natural gas pipeline, and then another pipeline. So I was away from home quite a bit for the last couple of years, but I just took a job for an environmental company in downtown Calgary. So started about 3 weeks ago. It's going well so far, and I seem to be enjoying that. And actually, my boss, the owner of the company, was a ref in junior.
Oh, wow.
We used to yell at each other all the time. So
You got to love that.
Yeah, but he was one that I respected a lot because he was confident. He was one of those refs that was confident out there. And if he made a call, you know, he had a reason for it. He was hard to manipulate as far as official goes, where that's not always the case. And he would stand up to you, and if he thought he was right, and I appreciated that. So.
Yeah, we had some interesting refs back in the old AHL days. Harry Dumas, you know, Jeff Smith, who great guy, wouldn't make a call to save his life. I think he had a hot date after each one. But yeah, there were some interesting referees out there. Barry, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. This has been a pleasure of mine. Last year, I had Cody Bass on in the same week where the Black Bears was about to, you know, go into their Game 3, and eventually they did win the championship, and they're about to do the same thing. So getting another Binghamton Senators Calder Cup champion here on the show, you know, during this week where the fans are so very excited about potentially winning their third, you know, championship here in this city. Obviously, no one's going to forget about the Binghamton Senators and the Calder Cup championship, but you know, hockey moves on, and even if the AHL is not here, they really still love hockey. And you know, when you get 4,300 fans per game on average in this city for single A hockey, you know that this city really truly loves hockey.
They do, and that came through when I played there. You know, it was. I remember. I think they were selling T-shirts with a $1 bill, but they had put my face on it and said, "Brust, we trust."
Yep.
You know, and I think the coach told me that he had to play me at home because people were calling the office and saying, "I'm not coming unless Barry's playing." So, you know, things like that were hilarious for me to hear.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. And to be honest, I think that the fans were one of the biggest reasons why I played as many games as I did in Binghamton, because, you know, people were not happy if I wasn't playing. It was pretty cool. And, you know, it has a very, very special place in my heart.
Well, we're glad you have a very special place in the heart here in Binghamton. So if you're ever in upstate New York, you better make a stop somewhere here in the Binghamton area and let us know that you're all here, because there's a lot of fans that would love to say hello to you. And I'm sure they're really going to love being able to hear you kind of reminisce about your career here. So again, Barry, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, I definitely will stop by and at some point. I don't know when, but I definitely will make it back there, because like I said, I have a lot of great memories there. And like I got to throw the first pitch at the Binghamton Mets game.
Yeah. Yeah. With Cals.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, it's hard to really talk about it just because it chokes me up a little bit, because that was such a special year. And, there's a lot of great relationships with those guys. So absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on, and say hi to everyone in Binghamton for me.
Absolutely. He is Barry Brust, Binghamton Senators Calder Cup champion from 2011. And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. If you're still with me, it's, an hour and 10, 15 minutes of your time at this point. Thank you very much for still being here. Thank you for listening this season. We've done 67 episodes since we started. I think it was like August 1st when I really kind of clicked over from season 13 to season 14. But I am just outstandingly happy about the coverage that we've done for you guys and the support that you've given us here at the Power Play Post Show. And I'm including Taylor completely in on that, as she's been writing the Impact Players. She just released the Game 3 Impact Players just this morning, and I'm so very happy that she did so. And you're going to hear from her. You're going to hear from her right here on the Power Play Post Show very shortly, which will be very cool. Listen, the celebration will be Monday at 6:30. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be there. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. They're going to obviously have the team up there. They're going to have the Commissioner's Cup up there, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fan engagement, player engagement with you, the fans. Thank you very much for listening. We are going to have a show this upcoming Thursday. So I'm very excited about that. I'm thinking about certain things for that show, so stay tuned for that. But we will definitely have reaction from the celebration from some of the players for you on the show for that particular episode of the show. Thank you very much for listening, folks. I really appreciate it. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show, and please join. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lapoulos, who was obviously at the game. So awesome that he was there, our MC. John Petitucci, our musical director, and thank you to former Binghamton Senators, Calder Cup netminder champion, Barry Brust. I am Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Our season's not over. We're going to continue covering the Binghamton Black Bears all throughout the summer. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.